With the Thanksgiving travel rush back at pre-pandemic levels, what can we expect for the travel industry into the new year? Let's bring in Glenn Fogel, Booking Holdings President and CEO, to discuss this. Welcome to the show. So obviously a very busy time. A lot of people were still have that demand to travel at the moment. What have you been seeing over the holidays, of course, with Thanksgiving and your expectations into the new year?
Well, thanks for having me. It was a very good Thanksgiving travel in the United States. We're a very global company. Obviously, Thanksgiving is just the U.S., but travel's been booming. We just love this recovery. Third quarter was wonderful, and it's continued on. And we saw a lot of people over the weekend who were traveling. I was traveling, so I know it's been crowded, but it's just great after this terrible pandemic. People finally getting going. We're loving it.
Yeah, it certainly feels like, people are moving beyond domestic travel more into international as well, which is a bit of a change from what we saw at this time a year ago. Where are you seeing the biggest growth right now?
Well, you're right on that. And it's true because of those shutdowns. It was so hard to travel. And the U.S. in particular was being very cautious in letting people come and visit us, but it also made people a little scared to go out of the U.S. because they're afraid, what if I'm not able to get back here? So it's definitely picked up. One of the things that I'm really pleased to see is Asia's been slow in the recovery. They've had more trouble getting themselves going. They've had more restrictions. But one of the things we talked about in our earnings call was September was the first month that we had Asia going more than they did in 2019. So we love seeing that and that coming back. Certainly Europe's been doing well. The U.S. has been leading, really. We talked in our third quarter. We had almost 30% room night growth in the third quarter in the U.S. And that's what we just love the fact seeing that going well.
And as the parent of Priceline, Kayak, and also travel adjacent services like dining with Open Table, what have you been seeing in terms of sort of these travel adjacent businesses as well?
Well, I think anybody who's trying to get a reservation in a restaurant recognizes that it's pretty crowded. And that's one of the great things about our Open Table service is people being able to look at a lot of different restaurants, choosing what's available, because a lot of places there's not a lot of availability. And it's a great way to make sure you have a table to go look at it. And we see people want to go out and be with people. It's what happens if you're shut down for 2 years or so. People once they can go out, they want to go out, and it's something that we have seen. Anytime a country opened up in restrictions in this pandemic, we saw people immediately jump in, whether they want to go to restaurants, whether they wanted to get on a plane or go to a hotel. We saw people wanting to do that.
Glenn, we've been trying to get a better gauge of the impact inflation has had on any travel plans. We have heard over and over from those within the travel space, whether it's an Airbnb or, some of the rival hotel companies, that they haven't necessarily seen a pullback or cancellation in some of these plans that were set in place for the holidays. What are you seeing that suggests that maybe those travelers are starting to tighten their wallets a bit? Any headwinds coming from the broader macro environment we're seeing right now?
Well, we really haven't yet. And we talked about that on our earnings call, how people are still traveling. Now, there's no doubt the prices are a lot higher than they used to be. And we talk about the average daily rate at a hotel for us. And we talked about that. It's 28% in a constant currency, looking around the world, different currency changes. That's a big increase. Yet people are buying it. And if you buy a flight, you recognize it's more expensive than it was in 2019. But people are definitely still wanting to go and travel. Now, some people are saying, well, it's a little bit like that old cartoon with Roadrunner where Wile E. Coyote goes off the cliff and his legs are still going, but he hasn't looked down, so he hasn't started to fall yet. People saying, well, that's what this is in a travel. Just in a little while it's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. I do know right now people are traveling, and we even see we look at our forward bookings, so we can look into, let's say, the first quarter. We see how much business do we have on the book so far. And we compare it to, say, 2019, and we saw for Booking.com on a euro basis up 25% in gross booking. So there's obviously a lot of demand there.
And Glenn, just quickly, because I know you've been talking about travel's role in climate change, and you've recently announced a new program. Talk about that program and what your expectations are.
Yeah, so look, we recognize that our mission is to help everybody experience the world, but it wouldn't make much sense if there's not a world worth discovering and experiencing. So we want the world, we recognize there's a climate issue that we all have to deal with. We all saw recently at COP27, and we saw what's going on in Egypt, how are we going to deal with this? So we doing our part. We came out with a travel sustainability program, and we have a thing, a travel badge we give to accommodations that are really doing the right thing, trying to be sustainable. We have over 400,000 properties now that are part of this at different levels of sustainability. The ones that are the best get the most, the best bet, so to speak, make it simple. And what we want to do is make sure every one of the companies in our group is part of this program. So we have not only Booking.com that led it, but we have our Priceline.com, we have Agoda, we have Kayak, we have everybody who we want to have be able to show this sustainability program to make sure that people have an option to try and see which hotels are really the ones who are doing the right thing for sustainability.
We know it certainly matters to travelers, so we appreciate you doing that. Glenn Fogel, their Bookings Holdings President and CEO, thanks so much.